What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Off the Schneid. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Los Angeles Rams heading into the 2021 NFL Draft post-free agency. Obviously, big shakeup at quarterback for this team. Matt Stafford in, Jared Goff out. I think that that's a touch of an improvement for a couple reasons. Number one, I think Matt Stafford's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. There's that. Number two, there's pretty much zero attachment to quarterback. They're not attached to Matt Stafford even this year. They could cut him for 10 and save 10 million against the cap. Of course, they're not going to cut Matt Stafford, of course. But if they don't see it working out, if it doesn't work out for them, they can move on from him pretty easily. I know they like John Wolford a fair bit. Out of Wake Forest, looked good, and he was called upon, I think, once or twice. I can't remember what happened to Jared Goff. He got hurt, and Wolford looked pretty good. But I think that they could add a guy like Gardner Minshew is a name that I've thrown out there a bunch, and I think that he could fit in a lot of teams, and this is one of them. I mean, unless they just want to stick with Matt Stafford for the next 4 years, 3 years, something like that, which they absolutely can do. But they can literally cut him next year for zero dead cap. They could cut him this year and save 10 mil. Like, it just, of 100%, I don't see that happening. And they probably re-sign him, restructure it and stuff like that. But it's just a possibility. It's a possibility, and it throws a little monkey wrench into some people's thought processes potentially. So there you go. Take it for what it is. I absolutely expect Matt Stafford to be the quarterback this season without question. And unless there's like some sort of huge, glaring reason for why he isn't the quarterback moving forward, I expect him to be the quarterback moving forward. So just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there to throw a curveball to you guys. Running backs in a good spot. They lost Malcolm Brown, but Cam Akers took a huge step forward late in the season. The step that I thought that he would have kind of led off with. I think he's a very quality running back and a starter in the NFL. Darrell Henderson is a good quality, complementary back, and they could look to add a guy 4th, 6th, 7th round, maybe something like that. It's undrafted free agent, even some competition there for the back of the third string running back, that sort of thing. They did use 3 last year, so whoever it is could get some substantial playing time. Tight end, I think, is actually in a pretty good spot. Tyler Higbee, I think, is very good. They lost Everett, but I'm not super concerned about that. I like Bryson Hopkins quite a bit. I liked him quite a bit coming out of Purdue, and I still like him. I think he can be a guy for sure. But Tyler Higbee is going to be the main attraction, absolutely. But he's a good depth piece, Hopkins. So there you go. Wide receivers are in a very good spot. They lost Josh Reynolds, but it might be an improvement with Van Jefferson maybe. I really like Van Jefferson. I think he's a fantastic player, fits this offense perfectly. Cooper Kupp is still fantastic. Robert Woods is still fantastic. And then they go out and bring Djax as a deep ball threat. Matt Stafford's got a pretty big arm, and Djax is pretty fast. So there you go. Makes sense. So I think they're fine at wide receiver. They might look to add a competition piece again late in the draft, third, fourth, sixth round, something like that. Bring a guy in to compete. Offensive line, I think, is where they're going to need some help. They did lose Austin Blythe. That hurts quite a bit, I think. Andrew Whitworth is 39 years old. He's still very good, but he's 39 years old. They do have Joe Noteboom there, who's just waiting in the wings, and Tremaine Antrim can be a depth guy, swing tackle, plug and play wherever you kind of need him. Austin Corbett, still very good. Rob Havenstein, still very good. And then Brian Allen and David Edwards, Jameel Danby as well. You're going to need some competition for these guys to see. You want to have your best 5. I've been saying it on almost all of these. You want your best 5 offensive linemen out there week in, week out. And you need to breed some competition with these guys. So bring in a piece, whether that's the 3rd round, 2nd round even. Not a ton of draft capital for the Rams. So here's another point of conversation about the Rams. They're doing things differently. They're building this team, obviously, differently. It's a copycat league, but I don't think too many teams are going to copy this mold and what they've been doing. It's very interesting. They had 11 straight years 11 straight years where they picked top 15 in the NFL draft. The last first round pick they had was first overall and Jared Goff. And that was 2016 or something like that, 5 years ago, I think. So haven't had a first round pick since. And they've been better. They've been to the playoffs more than the previous 11 seasons when they were picking top 15 every year, So they're doing things differently. They're trading away their first round pick. I think that, and they have been relatively late. They just went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So they're trading away their first round picks for known assets is kind of what's going on here, right? Known assets and flexibility with Matt Stafford. And Jalen Ramsey, you know what I mean? Like they're trading their first round picks for known assets, and then to be honest, they're doing a very good job. Their scout team, their college scouting team deserves some praise here because they've been drafting pretty well. They filled this roster with good, solid players that fit the team, fit the needs, fit the scheme, the structure, all that kind of stuff. So, it's weird. It's weird how they're building this team, but kudos to them because they're doing well. They're doing a very good job with it. So we'll move over to the defensive side of the ball. Raheem Morris comes in to coach the defense. I actually quite like Raheem Morris. He's a former offensive guy, which is an interesting twist to how he sees defense. It's hard to say if they're going to be as good as they were last year. Obviously, they lost a bunch of guys. I think it was a total of 15 and a half sacks with Morgan Fox, Michael Brockers, and Samson Ebukam all gone. Troy Hill's gone. John Johnson III gone. But they actually have some pieces here that can, step right in. I feel like it's an interesting looking team. Jalen Ramsey's obviously the anchor of that back end of the defense. Darius Williams was very good for them last year, and hopefully again will be solid for them again. But beyond that, they're absolutely going to have to dress cornerback. You got those two guys, but you're going to need at least 3 or 4 in today's NFL. You're absolutely going to need help there. Jordan Fuller was very, very good and probably will be again this year. Taylor Rapp is still there as a solid depth guy, special teams guy type of thing as well. Terrell Burgess I really like. That's another guy that they drafted late that I quite like. He can help out. Moving towards the line, Troy Reeder was very good last year. Micah Kaiser was quite good. Justin Hollins was quality. 3 sacks as well for Hollins. Kenny Young is there. Terrell Lewis I liked. Again, another late draft pick. They bring back Leonard Floyd, who had double-digit sacks. Obviously, don't need to say much about one of the best in the game, if not the best player overall in the game, Aaron Donald. Ashawn Robinson is still there. It's an interesting team, man. They're all young guys that can all probably play. We just aren't really sure because they haven't had the opportunity. You look at a team I said a lot of the same things about, especially on the back end of the defense, was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. They just were young guys. You got to let them play, and they passed with flying colors, won the Super Bowl. Not single-handedly, but they absolutely contributed to them winning the Super Bowl. An extreme amount. So it'll be really interesting. I was pretty hard on the Rams last year. I didn't see a ton of talent on that team. They got the job done somehow. It's hard to really see how they were winning games last year. Defense was obviously, I think, a lot better than I thought it was going to be, but they did struggle on offense, which I did think that they would do as well. They ended up winning way more games than I thought they would. I thought that they would miss the playoffs and have a tough year and fall to the back of the pack in this division. Does that happen this year? Maybe. I don't know. They didn't have a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, or a 1,000-yard receiver. None of those things happened on offense for this team. I don't expect that to happen this year. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were both pretty close to 1,000 yards, and they were very spaced out. Gerald Everett's gone now, 400 yards or gone. Josh Reynolds 600 yards, that sort of a thing. So I expect that they will get over that mark, and Cam Akers probably does too on the ground. But man, it's just interesting. It's interesting this Rams team, how they're building it and what they're prioritizing, and And we'll see. We got to let these guys play and see what they do. I'm not going to be as hard as I was last year on them. Keep an eye out for the breakdown preview videos that'll come out much later in the summer, but I will have those out again as well. So we'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments on this one. It's an interesting team on how they're building it out and how they're filling up their roster. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Look out for my mock draft coming out in a couple weeks. Not that the Rams will really be on it because they don't have a first round pick, but appreciate the watch and we'll see you on the next video.